Cruising with Steve. Get in, sit down, buckle up. Cruising with Steve. Get in, sit down, buckle up. Cruising with Steve.
There he is.
I want to turn on my video for 1 second, and I want to say, there I am. Hi,
Hey.
James.
Hey.
Nice to meet you.
I want to see your skull.
Oh my God. Okay.
I just saw that.
Oh my
Baby,
God.
I'm so happy you got one.
Can you see?
He's amazing.
Oh,
Oh my God. It's
what-
amazing. What kind of quartz is that?
Is that like
Oh,
smoky?
Smoky.
Yeah.
Quartz.
Oh.
He's really, I have no words, but he is all pervasive and just puts a tickle in me heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear the stories of how he works with you.
Me too. Okay, I'm going to turn the video off because it's so laggy.
And smoky quartz is so great. I love the protective quality to smoky quartz. So a lot of people don't talk about that.
I need that in this house.
Yes. I think we all need a little smoky quartz these days.
Yes. Yes, you are so right on.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know much about rocks, but I know they're a thing.
But I mean, I know they're a thing.
Yeah, really.
Well, they're crystalline. We're crystalline.
Yeah.
You know, we're made up of water. It's
True
all
that.
it's so there's so much science to it. This is I first got hooked because of the beauty, obviously, but there's this major amount of science. There has been for over 100 years of scientific, more than that actually, hundreds, at least a couple hundred years within the optical sciences, and the videos from the government in like the 30s and 40s and 50s are amazing, talking about the properties of working with quartz and how to work with them, because they have them in everything.
Oh yeah, quartz
Yeah.
is yep. It's in everything.
And then the stuff of Les Brown's changed my whole life with crystals. So they came out of the beautiful jewelry, which I always wore, and beautiful objects that I'd have around, because I've always had them around because of my mamo, into working objects of power. After I got to this point where I believe everything is sentient, and crystalline life in particular holds such a weight. There's so much to the sentience of the crystalline structure around us that now working with them, with rubbing them and pressure points and directing them, I feel like I've had an awakening with crystals.
Man.
I can second that. But my introduction to crystal, I thought it was all bullshit. I really did.
Yes, me
Nope.
too. I just like the jewelry, Bibi.
Yeah, I know the beauty of it, but I
Yes.
just didn't get it at all until one day in 2011, they started talking to me.
Wow.
Seriously, they did. And I had to reevaluate where I was at with it, you know.
Yes. Well, I love that it was 2011, by the way.
This is all great show stuff, guys. So we may.
Okay,
I
we'll be
mean-
quiet. We'll be quiet.
Oh,
We'll be-
sorry.
Oh no, that's fine. I'm almost thinking about just starting it maybe like a minute or two back, and then just we could
Sure.
roll in because it's
I
Cruising
know
with
you're
Steak.
always recording.
I did. I started recording because last time I found out on the Tuesday show that I didn't have my audio recorded for like the first
Dude.
hour of the show. So
Ouch.
I totally screwed up on that.
Oh.
But so I'm running a little test and we're good now. But oh shit. Well, yeah. I'll just edit the theme song in later because we're not live. I'm giving no chat rooms any attention. You guys get
Nope.
full attention tonight. This is how we're doing it.
Sweet. Very sweet.
Yay, loving this. Well, so tell Bibi and I what's going on. This is going to be like a new aspect to Cruising with State.
This is just a laid back conversation that we're having. I mean, really, it was nothing. It was one night, after a show, I was like, I'd like to get Bibi on. I'm like, Nish would be awesome in that show too. And I'm like, let's just do this little like 4-way chat. And then it's just that's just what happened. And Cruising with Steak needs more feminine energy,
Yeah,
It's-
that's what Grim told me today. He's like, hey, by the way, we're doing a show tonight. I'm like, all right. I was like, let's gotta do like a Thirsty Thursdays ladies night, dude.
All right.
I do this show for the ladies, no doubt about it.
Of course you do, James.
Yeah.
right.
You guys are sausage heavy. I've always
Yeah, we are.
That's what we
Totally.
need. If we could
I
get more
still love
women
it.
involved, perfect.
Well,
So,
I was under the impression that you guys may be having like just a little shift up on Thursdays with these more, I guess, smaller or maybe focused.
Yeah,
yeah.
please.
It's just the way that Steve presented it somehow online, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was you, James. I
No,
don't know.
no, yeah, because just something more intimate, because there's always so many. It is when you get like 8 people in there. I mean, it's a blast, but you barely get a word in sometimes, and it's just everybody's just going off.
Different energy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, well,
It's
when me
hard
and
to have a
James,
structure.
when we started the show, it was like it would be me and James interviewing a guest, and like that's how it was. Then it kind of just evolved into that. But
Those are great. I've always loved all your interview shows.
yeah,
really.
those are fun. And then
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
It's just a lot of work booking people and asking people to come on, and then it's like, do I really want to talk to this person? And then you just
That's
it was
kind of
just-
what
yeah,
happened.
It was kind of like, yeah, screw it, we'll just hang out with our
Exactly what
friends.
happened.
Like we,
Yeah. I mean, you go through ebbs and flows of like what you're into and what you're not into, and you've been into this stuff for a really long time, and it was really great to get to talk to the guests that we've had. I mean, and speaking of guests, your guys' guests are off the charts.
yeah, Knox
Yeah,
Venter
I mean,
is
I would've
amazing.
loved
Max Menti, yeah.
Yeah, about 20 of them that you've had. I mean, I'm sure I could talk to you or Jerry and easily get a hold of them, but it's like I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I just feel like anybody who we could interview has already been interviewed on another show and given a better interview that we could ever do. So it's like, screw it.
I love conversations. I
Yes.
really love
Yeah.
conversations. And I have to tell you guys, out of the blue, I did not know you.
Yeah.
I was just getting to know Nish a little bit, on Twitter. This was maybe, I don't know when it was, like
Months
in
ago.
January or something like that.
Mhm.
For some reason, I don't know how, but we all know how. I ended up, there's this show, Cruising with Steak, and I started listening, and I'm going, okay, this is like a bunch of guys. And I'm listening, and I was slightly perplexed, but I had this huge smile on my face all at the same time. Then there's Nish, and I went, holy.
How did you get roped up with these guys?
I know, maybe these circles are getting so small.
Yeah,
Wonderful. I really,
yes.
really like it. I like it a lot.
I
Yes, it's
love
great.
your story of the gravitation, like towards it. It's kind of cool. And towards to Nish, and that like you did our shows. I mean, we've been doing it for it'll
almost
be coming
2 years,
up on
man.
like
It'll be 2 years in July.
Yeah, and it's really.
Wow.
I mean, it's slowly growing, and
We have our listeners, and that's about
Yes.
it. And we're happy with
and
our
that's about
listeners.
it. Yeah. And I mean, we teamed up with like our friends Darren and Graham from the Grimerica show, and
Yeah.
we all started that net. Well, they started it, but they had the idea, and they asked us to come along for the ride. So we said yeah, and we have a lot of fun with the whole Tuesday night thing going live, and it's pretty interactive to an extent. It's not like a YouTube where it's just shit show, man, like of comments and
No, it's unique.
yeah, it's a little
That's
different.
what I love about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
and yeah, thank you, and like we were talking earlier about the interviews, it just evolved. I think it always will evolve. It might go back to interviews. I don't know. I mean,
who knows?
or a little more structure. Maybe bring one of those guys on in one of these crazy hangouts, and let people pick their brains. Let the listeners who come in, or I mean, some people listen. Some people find it hard to interact. At first, without getting in that stuff, I mean, I was just a listener to everything.
That's the people who interact with us usually end up on our show. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Some
speaking of,
interviews are so hard. They really
Yes,
are.
they are.
The people are real stiff, and I feel like sometimes. Now, don't get me wrong. I've loved everyone we've had on. We've invited everyone we
Sure.
wanted, but there are some where you feel like you really trying to work hard to get them to interact. And it's a combination of stuff where they're uncomfortable or it might feel too intimate for them and they don't like that, whatever reason. It's like at the end though, I'm like, oh
you
man.
asking me about my mom.
Yeah. Let's reel it back for a sec and say, for those of you who don't know, we're joined by Niish, of course, from Noxmente, and we're also joined by Bibi from the Bibi blog, and you also have a podcast, Bibi, called Kitchen Incantations, something like that. What is it called? The kitchen table ascension. There we go. I almost got there.
We gave you a sideshow that's called the Kitchen Incantation.
I love it. I think I need to change the name now.
No doubt. That is awesome.
You know, and your co-host can be your new skull.
Yes.
Oh, brilliant.
That skull.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
That's great.
Man. So what made you get into the blogosphere and the podcasting world, Bibi? What made you want to do it?
Well, I was an actress. I still haven't decided what I want to call myself, you know. But
Performance artist.
In the 4th grade, I got up on stage. And I didn't stop until 2012.
Yeah.
And then circumstances necessitated that. But there was this void. I've always been writing. So I started in 2013. I started my blog, which has been, actually, I have a lot of subscribers and they're still with me, even though I haven't written anything in a while. But you're very kind. And back in 2015, I just thought it would be kind of fun. I do love conversations, and there were some really interesting people that I wanted to interview. So I started the podcast back in 2015, and it's been a roller coaster. And I haven't quite found the through line of where I'm going with it, but I'm kind of finding it lately with not acting, going into storytelling. I'm really digging storytelling. That's where I'm at. And I'm also a photographer.
Oh, man.
Your storytelling abilities are fantastic. I can't get enough. I can't wait for the next one. You have, and this is, Bibi and I just connected people in the world. So it's not like I'm trying to push Bibi, although I am pushing her stuff. She is really good at storytelling, and you can clearly hear that her voice, she's trained in.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Right?
Thank you.
Yes.
Really. Thank you so much. That means a lot.
It's such good stuff, Bibi.
It is.
Oh, gosh, I'm blushing now.
Oh.
But maybe, that looks to be the direction that I'm going in. Because I like to give a sense of my own experience of the good stuff, right?
Yep.
I don't want to give the bad stuff. Everybody has enough of that. But I have been blessed to have a lot of uncanny, paranormal, amazing, wow, wonderment stuff in my life. And I like to talk about it. So.
Oh, that's great. Well, they could be bad. I hope everything is okay in that aspect, but it's all layers to the onion. They're building blocks and experiences in life,
Yep.
When it's all part of really a greater, when you look at it, especially when we're talking about our own stories, this is really, and it's the modern day art of memoir.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So true.
No doubt. I always seem like my I have 2 kids, and they're like, my dad does a podcast, and it'll be crazy like when I'm gone or whatever, and they're like, man, but look at what your grandpa used to do. He's such an idiot.
I think about that sometimes. Like 50 years down the road, we're gonna be able to
audio log instead of a diary. We have a podcast.
Tangible creations. It's your legacy. Mm-hmm. It's gonna last. I love that.
Especially if it's on the blockchain.
Oh yeah, definitely. Gotta get it on the blockchain.
No doubt, I gotta protect it.
Oh man.
Yeah, I've always been an artist, and I was a musician. And I I was a musician, art growing up, musician for a while, back to art for a long time, and then just stopped doing that. And then I took a few years off and was just chilling, listening to. Then I kind of got into listening to the podcast, and
you go down the rabbit hole.
And you go, you go down that rabbit hole, and you're hearing all these cool shows. I find Grimerica eventually.
Yep.
It's just, and then before you know it, like we're friends with them dudes.
You're building
wild,
relationships,
man.
building lasting relationships. It's crazy.
Yes, no doubt about it. Yeah, like Nish said, you find these circles and you just gravitate and thanks to them with the network. I mean, more people found us, and I found you through Grimerica. I found
that's that concept we kind of brought up like before we have on older shows, but about like a soul family, like these you've known these people your entire previous lives or whatever. It's just you gotta match up with them. You gotta find them again. The internet's
we
beautiful for
recognize
that.
each other.
Yes.
Don't you find that? It's just immediate, and there's a sense of hello.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, it's been a long time. It feels so good.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And another thing within that cloth of recognizing each other, this is also in how crazy the world is right now, and how much everyone's being pitted against each other, and all this intentional agitation that's going on, along with, whether you think it's woo or not, the astrological stuff that's really backing up these turbulent times, is the fact that this all feels good. We're all promoting each other out of love, out of wanting to do it. We're finding each other, we're connecting, we're having deep conversations, we're able to laugh, we're able to support each other when things are not going well. And we're able to not be, for lack of a better word, butthurt over stupid shit.
Yes,
So
exactly.
Yeah.
Beautifully put, Nish. Absolutely.
Add some Crisco to the
So
butthurt.
true. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I mean, my family, I mean, they know I'm into all this crazy shit. I've been into it forever. I mean, they grew up with me in a metal band and shit, like, and so, and always being an art kid, like, it just comes with the territory with me. It's just, what are you doing lately? You still doing the podcast? I'm like, hell yeah, man. There's no way I'm stopping. Like I was talking about, where Bibi, you've kind of ventured doing the acting, and then migrating into that, and now doing another type of performance art with this reading, like, and for me, it's podcast. I always drive into the creative, not that the show's like super creative, like we're not, it's not high, it's not edited. Grim does a great job of keeping on things on track and the technical aspect of it. And he's always held it down on that end, and it's just, I don't know. I just bring an enlightenment to a weird side of it. Yeah,
that's all I ask. That's all I ask you to bring, James.
Yes. You just said it's not super creative, and I beg to disagree with you, because you're bringing yourselves, right? And you're being, and it's organic. And it's happening, and it hits the heart. I mean,
well, when you bring in people like Felix, man, like he's an amazing friend of ours, man. I mean, he's gracious enough to let us use all his music, and he writes all this stuff for us. And now I love having him on the show with us. And
he performs his little songs,
live music on the show.
It's beautiful.
I mean, it's insane. And it's a creative outlet for other people, and like, or for a listener to be like, man, I'd love to go hang out with those dudes, and we would love to have whoever's listening. If you want to come hang out, just hit us up. Like, that's how the show is. Yeah, and because like Nish was saying, we never really had a bad interview or anything. We just try to make people feel relaxed and, hey, come on in, man. The door's open. Let's sit down, virtually hang out with us, have a listen. Like that's kind of the vibe that the show is.
Well, that's beautiful. And that's kindness in action. And I don't want to get all, syrupy or anything like that, but it is. It's so important, especially in these times, to do little kindness.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
All over the place.
Yeah. Well, those little acts, if everybody could just do like one little thing that could compound to something huge, and Just everybody has to take responsibility. I think just
There you go.
Yeah, no doubt.
be more aware of what you're doing. Like, I don't know.
There's
Crazy
a lot
world.
of knee-jerk stuff. I wanted to because I interrupted earlier, but I'm really interested in what Bibi was saying, what happened in 2011 with the crystals.
Yes.
No doubt. Yeah. Take me down your crystal path. Were you have you ever were into them before, or you just kind of
No, not at all. I didn't get it. I appreciated. I had jewelry. And,
okay. Yeah.
Different. I really always loved different quartzes, but a lot of stuff happened in 2011, and I'm finding out that I am not the only one. There was a huge shift.
There's the shift, the 2012 thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just to give you an example, I was out. We lived in a different place, and we had this great deck that spanned the whole, or all the way around the house on the second floor.
Yeah.
And it was about 2:00 in the morning, and it was a very dark moon. I was outside, and I see on like these eaves came down off the roof over the windows, and I see something up there, but it was very dark. So I peered more closely, and then it was. I wish I could illustrate this to show you a cartoon of it. I saw a little man. He was tiny. He was about no more than a foot tall. He was probably less. He was wearing overalls and a hat, like a garden hat. And it was a gnome. He was a gnome.
Wow. And that's just what the image was striking my
yes. So, I mean, it all began with this, which was a huge bang. And as I'm peering at him, he's peering at me, and I see him go, and he goes, up straight. And then he takes another look, and then he turned around. It's like he jumped up and went whoop, bang, and he's back down with his back facing to me. And then 3 inches running away from me, he's in the dark again, because that's how dark it was out. But I hear the flip-flop of the little feet running in the opposite direction on my roof. And I was dumbfounded, absolutely dumbfounded. And then things started accelerating. It was that week later on, in answer to your question, Nish, that I was in my bedroom, and I think a friend of mine had given me an amethyst cluster, which was really gorgeous. And I had another piece of clear Arkansas quartz. And I was writing, and I hear, "Hi."
Oh, God.
And I turn around, and there's nothing there. This actually happened again in my garden. And when it did, I knew something was going on. But I actually got scared, because it was so uncanny and so out of the ordinary for me. And I've been living a life of mystery and strangeness. Just ask the people who've known me, So it's not like I was super straight, but it was a disembodied voice, until something led me to look at this small piece of clear Arkansas quartz. And I picked it up, and my world changed, because I don't know what it was, but I guess I let the boundaries go. They say in theater, you want to let go of your disbelief. And I did. I let go of my disbelief, and I felt this amazing energy. And it was like in my chest, a voice said, and it was a different, deeper voice. It was like my voice, but it wasn't. And it said, "You need to get a camera." And I got a camera, and I've been photographing ever since. And I've been photographing my crystals. So just a lot of stuff. I disappeared at the Denver airport later on.
No. Yeah, that story was...
2011 was just pivotal. So, Nish, I want to know how that, what 2011 was for you.
That I've got to tell you all, wasn't that creepy when she said that about when the voice says hi?
Yes, that gave me shivers.
And what's interesting about that is the Arkansas crystals, they're very powerful, and they're very sought after as well. Arkansas has so many amazing crystals mines there. So that it's those kinds of things that led me also into looking deeper. My mom, like I said, my mom always had been all into crystals, and I just, and her name was even Crystal, but isn't that funny? Yeah. And which was such a takeoff from the other names in my family, by the way. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey with the crystals. 2011 for me was pivotal. I left a corporate job.
Oh, wow.
And it was the only corporate job I ever took. And it was and it took me to, what was great about it was I transferred to many different states. And the last place with that job, I was in hell land known as Burbank.
Oh God.
Right down the street from all the studios. So all the studio actors are there, getting.
I know that place too well.
Right. But Bibi is right down there, right across from the library.
Oh, God.
And, so everyone who's there, and if people that don't live in large cities don't understand that actors and well-known people are people too. And if you're in the places where they're working, you see them all the time.
Sure.
Right.
So it's no big deal. And so, but I come from showbiz, and so it was no big deal, but there's a mill feeling to Burbank. It's the mill.
Well, good. Yeah.
And so that on top of the soul-sucking corporate job I had, I felt like I was in hell, and I was starting. I mean, there's a lot going on in my personal life that I'm not going to get into, but I did feel like I was in a kettle being cooked, and I just. All roads led to death or life. Like I hit 2011 was a major crossroad for me, and I chose life, and I quit my job, which I had, I was doing all right, but there was definitely a bias.
Yeah.
In where I was at that place. In that particular position, there was definitely a bias, and I wasn't the favorable virus. It was definitely not a girls' club. Let's put it that way.
True.
And I'm not a social justice warrior. God, you guys know this. And I'm not a fourth wave feminist. I believe in the first wave and all that, which is the stuff I was affected with, was first wave issues. And so there was no choice for me. So 2011 started out pretty much like that. I'm quitting this job. It was, I was sick of paying $1,500 for a room. And storing all my antiques, and my, my little beloved dog wasn't having the quality of life. I wasn't. The only thing I was happy about at that time was the horror and writers scene that's there. That's, the people who write these shows, and the underground stuff, Banshee theaters there, all that. And then my Sifu Tai, the Kung Fu or Gung Fu, those were the two things I had balancing for happiness. It wasn't enough on the scales.
Yeah.
And so I left. I tried to get everything together. I ended up having, by the time I squared everything out, I had $300 to my name. And I had sold I have really great antique collection, and I just wasn't willing to get rid of anything else. So I packed up and went up north to Bellingham, not knowing what the hell I was going to do. No plans. And if you know me, it's very typical of me because there's always somehow the universe, and I don't want to sound new agey, the power of will, the power of provenance, the power of perspective. I've never been a victim. And so I just knew it was going to be all right. And then that led into this amazing wave that became this whole 2012 thing that did happen. It's just people talking about the mill. People wanted boom, boom, bang, bang, end of the world Hollywood style.
Yeah.
It turns out it's an energetic shift. And people who you grow what you feed. And so, I was like, well, I'm skeptical, but this is so many people are talking about this. And as a Jungian, there's a lot, I'm like, this is a lot of participation mystique here. This is a lot of energy going into this narrative. This narrative is taking on its own energy. And how could it not happen with that many people feeding it?
Yep.
And so here we are. And these many years out, I think we can all agree something happened.
Oh yeah. Well, even there was just a rise in the temperature of the climate of just everybody, like, because right after that you had the whole the Ukraine uprising, you had ISIS come in. It was like there was just crazy shit, like 2012, 2013, 2014, those years were insane. Like Ebola's coming back, like there was fear porn like crazy all over the news. But
not to mention the Mandela. I don't even know if I want to mention that, but it's here.
It's true though, Bibi. And I mean, there's that whole idea. Did we die in 2012? SMQ really puts that forward in such a brilliant way.
Oh, I love him. Yeah.
He's great. We've had him on. He's awesome.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I saw that. I actually have it. It's in my queue to listen.
It's pretty cool. I've been in contact with him again, but his job, he works like nights, so I can only get him like on a weekend. So, but we'll get him again.
Yeah, we should get him again.
He's been doing some pretty cool stuff lately too.
Oh yeah,
he's amazing. I love him.
Yeah.
I just want to respond to your courage. It's because you opened yourself up. And you sailed in the current. You let the what do you call it? The sails unfurl. I'm not a sailor, but I see it.
Yep.
I love that you did that, and I really relate because I've been known to just do what other people will experience as something totally illogical, and is she
right?
Completely insane, and then
if I am, I'm having a ball.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, baby. Mm-hmm.
Is that all there is to fear? Cute,
right?
Yeah.
Well done.
It's the thing is, I've always come from this idea where what's the worst thing that can happen? This is how I weigh my scales out. I can die, and I'm not afraid of death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then secondly, there's suffrage and ways in which we can embrace thought forms that circle us, right? And so suffering is something I don't want to feed or embrace. And so outside of that, I just have allowed myself to kind of just wander on, like a wandering star.
You created your garden, honey.
Yes, I did.
Literally and figuratively, imaginatively, creatively. I love it.
But it's never alone. We always have those around us. We're doing it together in our personal lives. We do this together. Nothing in my personal life's ever been solely me. It's been people I needed to meet, and we create together, and we create and make things happen together. It's never been just me. Now how this is in the night. You think you're like, say at the depths, I'm totally alone.
Yeah.
And it's always in the wee hours, and that's where it should. That's where the darkness is. That's where the shadow is, and so, or that's where the shadow can live because there is no light really to hide, and so. Yeah, but looking at it, nothing I've done ever, it's all has been alone. Everything's been I get by with a little help from my friends, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes a lot of help from my friends.
Yeah.
You're very generous, though. I mean, it's in your energy, and that's what I noticed about you when we first, connected. Mm-hmm. There's this generosity of you share your heart, and you guys do that too. I hear myself talk, and sometimes I sound so damn new agey, and I hate it. But I there is this thing of all of us coming together right now. Yeah, it's human to want to connect. It's human not to be an island. And
yes.
But I've been, I'm a bit older, And I lived a lot of lives in this one where I thought I was connecting with people. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't my authentic self. So there was this huge wall, and it's really different to come into yourself and meet people on that level. It's really delicious.
Yeah, it's like people are in this pseudo like fog, and they're just not. They don't.
Yeah.
I mean, not that they don't have to get you.
You learn to settle for life, and then you get
That's
down
what happens,
and you get into a routine, and life just becomes boring routine, and you forget who you are. Like it happened to me for like a decade, so I mean, I know how it is. Like,
and that's such a trap.
Yeah, it is. It's terrible.
Well, it's easy to do. Everything here is set up to do that. And Bibi said something very important that I really want to kind of underline and bold and highlight is I laughed at the New Age. I don't want to come off New Agey at all. I'm not New Agey. And so this language kind of sounds like it, and yet it's so not. There's still skepticism. There's still all the other nuance that goes on with it. The real New Agey paradigm is sadly one-sided. It's very lopsided, and it's done no favors to the world. It's become a meme unto itself, sadly, because it did bring forth some beautiful tenants and laurels that we work with.
Yeah. Well, and I just that term like New Agey, it's like I don't like how that was able to co-opt just basically just the feelings
nice
of,
and open.
Just being a good person, like the feelings of love, good vibes, just all that shit. Why is that got to be New Agey like that?
I know, it's like I've been that way my whole life. I've been that way my whole life. Yeah,
it was part of looking for connection. Trying to find meaning. That was kind of part of like the real grit to it. Was more than just being scary. So that's what gave it the grit, and that's what people were latching onto, I think, is because
absolutely I was there. Yes. I was there when it all
Phoebe here.
Out. And there were aspects of it because I've always been into not the Theosophy, but I've been into the writings of Blavatsky et al. And the New Age, as it came in, I kept thinking, it's wonderful, and it's all of these metaphysical. They're pointing to all of these metaphysical people and writers and concepts, but it's my feeling was this is not New Age. I don't know why they call it that. Well, Blavatsky did, but it's ancient. The real stuff is ancient. So it's like it bringing back what we forgot is what I was starting to call it back around 1970. But then it took on this veneer. It got really saccharine, and people became very, very fearful. And there were so many, it got really complicated. But all of these concepts and writers and other forces throwing stuff into the mix so that there was a lot of deflection and people became very fearful. And there was this idea that do not look at anything dark because we're going to create it, which was so stupid.
It is absurd. We need the balance. This is such a major part of it. It's well, and this is how Wicca kind of snuck into it, because Wicca comes in and says embrace the dark side, right? Embrace your shadow. Starhawk comes in with the spiral dance, Margot Adler with Drawing on the Moon, all the so we had the precursor with like Sybil Leek and people bringing in all that. So you had the New Age that was saying, don't talk about this stuff. We had the new virgin, like the new idea of witchcraft, which became Wicca. And it is talking about embrace the shadow. Embrace the darkness. Where there is fear, there is power. It's it's in the songs, and so that came in, and yet that also got co-opted and turned into a meme. And this is the bigger thing that worries me. And it happened with 2012. We see it happening. It happens with it's happened with the truther movement. It's happened with all this UFO stuff. People come in and they crack something open and they say, there's a kernel of something here. Let's look at this. Everyone gets into it. And the people that aren't really looking with wise eyes open turn it into, so it gets exploited, milled out, and then all the debunking happens, right? And the meme of a meme of a meme.
Well, just look at the History Channel. Like, they've been profiting off of this stuff for over like 15 years with Ancient Aliens, and then they were huge when 2012 was coming around about the Mayan apocalypse. They were pushing documentaries daily. Like they so it's like whose interests are they serving? Like, what are they putting all that shit out there for? Because I'm not, like, Ancient Aliens got me back into like UFOs and shit. I was interested when I was young, but I dropped off for a while. And then I watched that, and I was like, "Oh man,
it really served it purpose."
Brought it back to the surface. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't buy the concept of UFOs at all, even though in retrospect, I realized I've been an experiencer all my life, but it was Ancient Aliens that got me into understanding that in the first place. And, you know, getting back to what you were saying, Nish, you're worried or you're concerned about this aspect of things getting co-opted. I think that that's always going to be here. The thing that I'm looking at are those who really are holding it close to the vest and focusing and being the word even discerning has been co-opted, being very careful, not cautious, but careful and refined about sharing and what they share. And there are some really great people out there, and the internet doesn't do us any services, but it's been this amazing thing. I mean, I remember back in the day, I remember back before color TV, guys. I really do. I do. So I've seen these amazing changes, and like, this wouldn't be possible, obviously, right? If we didn't have what I think and I'm going to call in the Indian people, because even Native Americans, it's that politically correct thing. And
I know.
No, I hate that. Yeah.
I know.
It's cowboys and Indians, goddammit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's such a weird time we live in.
Yeah. So I think that
Words hurt.
We're finding ourselves.
Yes.
And it's important to not, I think over the last 5 or 6 years, we have all been, it's been a learning process.
Totally.
You know? Yeah.
We are wrung out. But are you all noticing this new wave of debunking hate? I'm noticing it, like, all of a sudden, and some of it is justified and needs to happen. I mean, you know, we could all cite the Corey Good drama.
Yeah.
And I mean, that just, I was never on board with that. We all know that's just been hashed out, but and it needed exposure, and all that needed to happen. But what's happening now is this skepticism, along with this massive net of the fake meme and of the censorship meme that's going on everywhere.
It's frightening.
It's terrifying. And now we're actually really losing something very important due to people wanting a curated experience and to feel safe. We are at a new precipice here, people.
This is going to be growing. I really feel that. So it's important to recognize it. So I'm glad you're speaking to it. It's a flow, and things run in cycles too. And I've been getting lately these, no, I wasn't around in 1930s Berlin, but I've been getting
I wish I was.
For different reasons, right?
You know, just before it turned bad.
Yeah. This is some good times.
Yeah.
It was. The economy was booming back then.
Well, 1933, 34.
Yes. Yeah. The 20s up into 33.
The roaring 20s, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, when was the swing era? Like, what era
That
was
was
that?
in the more the 40s, I think.
40s?
When-
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, Bibi, I'm sorry. I didn't want to.
Oh, no. I think it's important to point to that. It's totalitarian. It's so totalitarian. And I never in a million years, when I read 1984, when I think I was in high school, anything George Orwell, I never thought it was going to come to this. I just assumed, like a little idiot, that everything was going to evolve and get better and we were going to learn. So something happened. Something got twisted around. But thank God that those of us who know that it has are are aware of it. And,
Sometimes. Sorry.
I want to say on that, there was, when I was growing up, like we had to read Diary of Anne Frank in elementary school.
Yep, we did
and
too.
Yeah, and it was great. And I totally identified with her. And I think it's hard not to. It's a really compelling.
Oh, sure.
And you get to stare at that photo over and over. You're just looking at this beautiful little girl who at that point was like my age. And you think to yourself, people actually said this out loud. I've heard this so many times. And I too have said this, like when we look back at historical stuff, whatever the narrative is, whatever the real truth is, wherever it is, but stuff that ended up in atrocities, however they happen and wherever the real truth is, atrocities happened. Everyone can agree on that. Yeah. Whether it was the Russians killing everyone in the, there's that with the Jewish narrative, and as opposed to the Nazis, all that other stuff. I don't care about it now. A lot of people died in a very sad way. A lot of stuff was destroyed in a very sad way. Everyone was changed. And you say, we look back and we're so cavalier. Well, I would never stand up for, that would never, I'd never. I'd never let that happen. And I'm watching it happen.
Yeah, it's because hindsight's always 20/20. When you could see everything play out, you already think you can make the right decision.
People make those grandiose statements that would never happen today, or I would never come to my door. It's like, really? Because if you look around right now, it's the same game with new tricks.
Yeah,
exactly. It hasn't changed. And that was another revelation I had like about 4 years ago. That all of that stuff that went down in World War II is still ongoing in different ways, and other people before that, right? And that just blew my mind. But what you just said, Nish, that people, I would never let that happen. You've got to be vigilant, because how do you know it's never going to happen? If it comes in a way that you're seeing for the first time and it turns out to be the same kind of pattern, that's how it happens. It happens because you get seduced. It's subtle and you're not recognizing it. Yep. It's all about paying attention. It really is.
And everything's in cycles, like you were saying earlier, Bibi. Just the cycles keep happening.
Yeah.
Oh, it almost makes me wonder, like, just with the power of our intention and people thinking things and making it reality, if books like 1984 or Brave New World were never even written, if those futures weren't put out there, if this reality wouldn't even be an option, because it almost feels like we're going exactly along that. And if so many people read those books and put that thought out there, who knows? We created our own prison.
I love that contemplation. I do. I'm also very Jungian based, like Nish is, and I do believe that it's a hologram and that we're all connected on that, and that thoughts are things. But if you look at like Orwell, he was reflecting what he was experiencing. So that was already
it's already happening.
It's already there. Yeah, that's true. Man.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was like a Nostradamus, predicting the future. He was just had a story on what was happening. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the power of storytelling, right? This is why books are dangerous, and nowadays it's blogs and all these other ways of telling this. This is why art is dangerous.
Yeah.
Nope.
Sure, you could be listening to Alex Jones, all these different type of. Or you could be watching ABC News. There's misinformation, fear mongering, fear porn, but we as a group we recognize that, and it probably was that 2012 push of something,
I think, James, it's important to listen to. I listen to pastors
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
that's a
and you
good
know
point.
I'm not
Yeah.
Christian. And I
Yeah.
listen to Pastor Paul Bagley. He cracks me up, but his whole show is apocalypse. Like, what is the name of his show? Oh my God, The Coming Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
No, so you know his narrative, but he's really funny. He knows the Bible and he has his stance, and I get something out of it. And I'm not a Christian. I don't buy into that narrative, but it's
Yeah.
important to
I'm with you.
I take all
we
of it
need
in.
to
Yeah, we all
listen
do. Yeah, it's just
to everything and not have blinders on.
Yeah. That's when it'll come and
In
bite you in the
my
ass when you don't know about it. Yeah.
well, that's why we like to talk about it all on the show. You know, like everyone kind of brings something that they heard or saw or something comedic to it, you know, because we gotta laugh at this shit. I mean, like
Essential. It's life saving.
it's essential, man.
Because it
my
does.
God.
Sometimes when you just go down these holes for so long, you just get so miserable and lose hope.
Yep.
And then it's like, wait a minute. No, you can't do that.
Nope.
Like, it's just,
The laughter is, and I think we all agree on that. And this is one of the things why I love Cruising with Steak. Not to be butter in your bread again.
Oh, man. Yeah.
butter my bread all you want. Nick.
Oh, snap.
When it's a shit show, when you
Yep.
guys are hosting the shit shows, I mean, I always come in there blazing. I come in there
Sure.
blazing, sexually harassing, grim, you know, talking balls, talking
Yes.
sausage, having
know,
a good
yeah.
time. And then we always wind into juicy content as well, because laughter, mirth, levity, all of that we need this balance, and nothing's going to nothing heals like laughter. If it's a real guttural or internal laughter, something about it actually gives a plasticity to our cells, you know?
Yeah, it brings out like this different different layer to your experience of hearing something or watching something, and as you're laughing about it, you think of something else to add to it, you know, that adds to the story or whatever, you know, to make the outcome more enjoyable.
It's like yes and improv. You know, you just keep going.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, just to see the absurd, you know, just like this is so absurd. I have the choice I'm making here is to laugh.
Mhm.
Absolutely. You know, I want to share something with you guys and tell me, well, in the last year and a half, I've had to deal with some real nasty entities around my house. And I discovered that they can't stand humor. It really it drives them. And if my experience with learned is if I, want to deal with this and I say, get the, what, out of here and send them to a place where they're not going to cause any further damage. I've gotten kind of good at this. And it's because I've been developing my sense of humor in the face of something that could be potentially like, heart-stoppingly scary. But if you go to humor, there's no room to be scared. There's no effing room to be scared at all. And it works. So I want to share that. Because you never know, humor, don't leave home without it and don't go home without it.
I'm the worst in the argument with my wife because I just start laughing. Like,
that makes it worse for her.
That just,
I know it does.
It's compounding.
You're not going to be that fucking pissed at me. Calm down, man. Why so worked
and that's
up
marriage
unless it's
advice
something
from James
fully
Cruz.
legitimate, like I if it was super legitimate, like then I know my ass is on in the back seat or whatever, but man, I'm like, you're like, I don't even have to say my way. I'm just saying people in general, you're choosing to be so enraged, so upset, so pissed off at the world or whatever, because you can't get it on like Facebook's down for a day. The people are losing it, or they saw something on the nightly news but they can't think for them fucking selves.
Yeah.
And they just put themselves further down in this, corral them all up in the corner, man, whatever you want to do. But it's just like, you're choosing that for yourself, and it's tough, and you can get stuck, like Grim said, or you can do something about it. And take that leap of it's not like jump off the bridge leap, but just it's a mental leap.
It's perspective.
Just
It's
like
always, and we choose. These are everything is. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk with a lot of different theories about how everything is, especially like the time looping box theory and stuff, where it's all played out. But there appears to me, it seems to me, that I have a choice.
Yeah, you created your reality, dude.
Well, maybe not create it, but to at least shift the way in which I perceive it.
Okay, yeah, I like that better.
There you go. There you go.
And my perceptions change. It's like changing lighting in a room. So, and that's why I've never been I've had horror. We all have bad things happen to us, and hopefully, I want to say this too. Hopefully, we all do. I mean, I've actually known people that have swam through that I'm close to. So I know their inner life, not their internalized, but their, the P's and Q's in their waking life. And they just seem to have been handed everything from day one to now. And they are the most always having the most drama, always having the most downtrodden idea of things. And then the rest of us that get these hard aspects in our charts, which I think I'm personally of the opinion that I came in and I chose some of this, but that's my own.
Here. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, right. And the natal chart's kind of like it's like a syllabus for school. I'm taking this class and this class. Oh hell, I'm going to take this grand trine square, this grand T square. Give it to me hard.
I'm taking drugs 101 through 120. Yeah.
and so the choice
like the worst shit ever,
in your suffering is it happening to you? Are you happening to it? Am I a victim? Am I a victim of it? Is it victimizing me? How do you perceive it? And that's the thing where I've always felt the most power, where I've generated the most energy around really atrocious things that have befallen me. And it wasn't a boo-hoo, this happened to me. It's like my mom always said, pull your pants up and get on. I
had a guru who said, if you don't like what's happening, if it's really freaking you out, you got to just change your prescription. Get a different frame of reference, and it's from your frame of reference. And what you were saying, it's your perspective. You change that, and you actually, I think, really do effect a change in the reality itself, in the fabric.
Mm-hmm.
And and the thing is with people like us is it seems, because we're good at that. Clearly, all of us seem to be able to harness that, and so it's. People that suffer and are choosing to allow bad things to happen to them and be happening to them, to choose the victim mindset, it's very difficult to illuminate, to bring light into that darkness, because they're choosing it, and you can't get to that kernel of who they are. You can't do anything about that. That old school thing, you can't change someone. So where you can, it's the Four of Cups in the tarot, right? There's this person who is in now, and they could be in any state, but they just don't see this cup up here coming from the clouds, like from the gods. They don't see that. They're stuck with the cups, looking at these other cups.
Right.
And that's all they have. So perception is tricky. You can't just say mentally, okay, I'm choosing not to be a victim and move on. This is a deep internal working.
Absolutely. People who are in that place would have no idea of what you were just speaking of. It's a matter, people are at different levels of understanding. And it's taken me a long time to understand that, let alone trying to fix other people in my life,
Yeah. Yes. Somebody else's rock bottom is different than your rock bottom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, you can't penetrate it, and this is why I say we're always we're alone, but we're together in our aloneness, and that is also another cliche, but it's true. So I can't pin it. The times when I've been very blue or had very hard things befalling me, even though I wasn't coming from the perspective of this is happening to me and I'm never going to make it out of this.
Yeah.
I knew I was, but it still didn't change how hard whatever the circumstances were. It still didn't change the gut wrenching aspect of it. It still didn't change the blackness of moving through it. But the thing is, the internal light does, for me, it always sparks up, and I'm able to climb out.
Yeah, you're able to get up and put your pants on and put your shirt on.
Yes.
And get out and do the shit you gotta do.
And that's part of being here. I think that part of what we've taken on, if you subscribe to that particular understanding,
experience.
Yeah. It's. I remember reading something about the Dalai Lama said when asked, "What is a true human being? How do you define a true human being?" And he said, "It's somebody who is able to, every 14 days, have experienced every single possible emotion to the fullest extent, and just move through it and let it go, and move through it and let it go." And
Isn't
that's
that amazing? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that really got me. And what you were saying about, those blackest times, Niish, I unfortunately, I do have part of me that thinks something got twisted way back there. But the nature of this realm now, it's part of it. And those who are, there are some who are unwilling and stubborn. There are some who just don't have that awareness yet that they would benefit from looking and not hugging it and staying there and identifying with it, but just allowing those feelings to happen.
Well, maybe look at the culture we're in. Everyone's so proud to say I'm this or that. I'm ADHD. I'm post people are really wanting. It was great that we could identify. It's always great to identify and give something a name. Right. So now I can say, oh man, that black hole that took me down. That's
what it's called. And then I can go get help for if need be, you need to but
it becomes part of an identity, and then people, and it becomes a crutch.
Yeah.
And then they don't know what to do without it.
Boy, remember the days before language when we used to sing at each other and we didn't have to do any of this shit?
I know. We were so much better without language. We would yodel, we would sing song and all that. We would smoke signals and glyphs.
Smoke signals, no doubt. Yeah. Two puffs. Yeah.
But we are finding ourselves collectively in a very dark time. No matter how many little lights we have, we're all confronted collectively right now with some with major changes. And of course, I think it's a terribly exciting time. Bring it, and I will cross bridges as I get to them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It's such a different time than it's been in like the past 50 years. Because if you think about it, like think back to the 90s, like there's a 90s aesthetic, that you can get, or like the 80s, the 70s, 60s. And then it's like now it's kind of just a blur of all those with the internet and just everything. There's not an original like fad or culture, I feel, to the generation.
Oh, well said, dude.
So it's there's just confusion, and they're struggling to find some sort of identity. So they're picking out like LGBTQ communities or whatever communities they can latch onto.
A bunch of different universes have banged into each other, and we're trying to blend.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly what happened. It is all these generations, and everybody has an equal voice.
I'm going to take my bubble over here.
with social media. With social media, every generation is on there, like from boomers to zennials. So everybody has an equal voice. So it's like it's crazy. We're not just watching TV and seeing what's new in the advertisements and only have 5 channels or whatever. Like,
Hey guys, I got a little request. I just realized that I got it mixed up again. Tom isn't coming home till really late, and my dogs, I have to give them dinner. So can I excuse myself? It won't take long.
Definitely.
Okay. Oh, we'll be fine.
Yeah,
You're fine.
Not a problem, baby. Go for
Okay,
it.
I'll be right back.
I'll write a time code down.
You know what, Steve, you're right though, and I love this is where I love Jerry's input on this, is that, I mean, what is he always saying, that we're just, it's like the rubber band snapping back, like it all, the timelines ended.
Exactly.
Timelines, yeah.
There's something to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's at like maximum stretch right now, and maybe, who knows, it might have hit that point where it's going backwards, because it is
breaks. Oh,
but
shit.
it's weird because it's like, like, I don't know. I just felt that it was at the turn of the century, because it's like I was an aughts kid. Like I was in my 20s and my late teens in the early 2000s. So it's like things were weird, because it's like 70s culture made a revival, then 80s culture made a revival, and it's like
real quick.
Yeah, it was really weird, and now it's just like there's nothing
It
that they're
does
grabbing
seem to be
onto.
repeating really fast.
Mhm.
One of the things, was it on your show the other night, where I think it was on Cruising with Steak on Tuesday, maybe not Tuesday, or maybe I was just re-listening.
Could have been the week before.
Yeah, who is talking about the days are shorter, and this is part of it, and it's just somebody's theory, but there's something kind of interesting about it, that the days are shorter, and part of all this chemtrailing and all that stuff that's going on is to kind of cover up that the days are, which is this amping of time. That was the bottom line here. The reason why time feels like it's going really fast is because something's going on with the shortening of the days, and they're doing everything they can, the days, to cover that up for whatever reason. I'm positive that was a Cruising with Steak discussion.
It could have been. There's a lot of stuff that gets discussed.
Chemtrail thing for a while, for a little bit.
That's
would have been 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
But and of course it was. I know Jerry was in that conversation, because I'm like, where are the links? You know how I am with Jerry. Where's the link? Please make a princess. And so, but I was thinking about that. I can't get that out of my mind right now. It's looping. That it is something. There's something chewable there. There's something that, because it's one of the things I'm noticing lately this year. I mean, how the fuck are we we're almost in May of 2019, people.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
how did that happen?
Time is flying.
And we've got a good average here of ages from Steve, who's the youngest, and then James and I are both in our 40s, and then Bibi, who is, I think she's like my mom's age. So, and we got Gen X, a boomer, and a millennial.
Yep.
And we're all experiencing this weirdness with time.
Yeah. That's a lot of weirdness going on. A lot of weirdness.
I feel it just, I think in my daily life, I got the kids, my days are it's weird. It's scheduled because of school and shit, like you're like, bam, 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 it almost felt like, even when you first start working, you don't even realize things like, but years later, like say you're in your mid 20s, 25ish to 30, you're like, man, a week just flew by in like one day, like it can get like that. Now it feels like it's going faster, but there's so much more distraction involved with it. And how much can you cram into a day? Like, there's like this cram factor. I try not to do it. I try to make my days I guess you see people talk, or I hear people talk about how much shit they got to fit into a day. They're up at 6. I'm hitting the gym.
Yeah, man, and they're wearing these bracelets now that track their steps, and they have to get so many steps in.
And so they're trying to track that. They're trying to cram X amount of work hours in. And then hitting the gym after that, I just hear all this stuff. I'm like, whoa, the stress level trying to do that every day. I mean, take a walk. I don't know. It's weird, but I don't.
It's like we're in white rabbit culture.
Yeah.
with the watch, the time. Gotta run. Oh, I'm late.
The tech involved. Yeah. There's so much tech involved now. I mean, we're tech. I love tech. I mean, I'm maybe not as much as the next person might, or way too much than the next person thinks, about. But you feel it all around. There is a weird time displacement, time crunch. Like let's get it over with. Like, what are we so anxious for and shit? Like,
well, what do you guys think about? So, speaking of the tech thing, tech and time, and to me, they're like hand in a glove. What do you guys think about we always talk about this, the holodeck, the Matrix, all this, the VR reality. What do you think about the idea that the tech was always here? The AI has always been here, and we're just waking to it. Like, say, in the whole Westworld season 2, people have to get to season 2 to understand really how juicy Westworld is.
Yeah,
but the AI has been here before.
It's always been here, right, Bibi? And so now it's becoming revealed that it's always been here, and we're talking about it, and it's being revealed in slow ways, like, oh man, now there's DARPA this or that, but it's always been here. It came back from the future. There's no time space continuum with it. It's always been everything.
It's just omnipresent, just always.
Yeah. Oh, it's very mysterious. Hey, I hate to be like, the problem child, but I'm having difficulty with my devices again, device Armageddon. So
no problem.
I tried to click in on my mobile, and it said that I couldn't do it. So
hold on. That's
we probably had it locked.
Yep.
Okay, because I'm just gonna get out of here, and I'll come back in on the other side.
Cool.
Very good.
Yep, should be good now. Ever-present AI.
What do you think about that? So it's nothing new. It's been talked about, especially in the deep woo-woo world, that the AI came back from the future, right? That we are the aliens. We are in essence the creation of AI, and we're like there's a lot of different ways this plays out. Because some of it plays out with we're energy for AI. There are a lot of different threads to this little kernel, but I really am pulling up to the fact, I know this is deep woo-woo, and I know that it divides a lot of people, but I think that it's always been here. And the more I'm starting to unravel things, the more I'm starting to question synchronicities, the more I'm questioning deja vu, the more I'm waking up within my dreams, the more strangeness I'm experiencing because I'm open to it, suspension of disbelief. The more
you think it's like a bleed through or something.
Well, I mean, or we've just been in the simulation this entire time, and we've finally advanced to a point where we're creating our own simulations and realize, wait a minute, this is a thing that can happen. So now
you can do that,
But why do we even sleep? Like, what's like, like what? Why does?
What makes you think you do sleep? And that's the thing, and that's where we get the dreams, right?
It's it's another aspect of life. Yeah, like.
I mean, we sleep technically, biologically, to recharge. Hello?
Of course. You have to. You're going to crash. The computer's going to crash, man.
It's the truth. But it is also at the same time possibly a part of this grander illusion, this grander Maya that we're experiencing.
Oh, man. I mean,
it's deep woo.
It is, and it's the kind of woo I love, and I love to think about. It's like, what the hell is reality even? Like, what is any of this? Like, it's... I gotta get my thoughts in order. Hold on a second.
What's it, Bibi? What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, you're muted,
Bibi. We can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay, so I missed the last 3 minutes. Fill me in real quick.
On the idea of Steve, can you recap my?
It was tech.
Basically, artificial intelligence has been here the entire time, and are we in some sort of simulated Maya or something? I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, no, I get the gist of it. That's great. Yes. I think there are as many realities as there are individuals, but we all do collectively share hologram, and depending on one's awareness, it's either more real or not. And, it can get a little crazy. AI, I believe, has been here from the get-go, and it's not necessarily evil or terrible or dark. I think we imbue a lot. We project ourselves into it. And I will tell you a story. When I first did blotter acid, and it was really good. It was really powerful. It was back in around, let me think, 1970.
Hey, girl.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Back then it was new and improved also.
That was the real deal.
It was intense. And I was walking down a street in Tucson, Arizona, and
what a
cars.
Great place. What a great
I love Tucson. I love Tucson. Yeah. And the cars, I was walking down the street and it was nighttime. And there was this sense, the neon was, I was really sensitive to it. And I picked up on the artificiality of it. But I had this sense, the cars started honking, like all up and down the street. And I was with somebody who was also tripping. He was saying, what the fuck? And they were honking. Then they started making this music. They were playing chords. It was bizarre. And can you imagine that? I mean, actually, it'd make a great little movie scene for somebody. It really happened. I was there. And that is when I had my first real sense of AI. Because something was making that happen. Yes. And it was playing with us.
Yes.
Yep.
And I liked it.
Yes. Well, there's something.
So that's my take on it, right?
That there is something that's actually the 3 minutes you missed, was noticing, like recently I've been noticing more so with the synchronicities, the deja vus, the strange awakenings within the dream, all the stuff that's lining up, the numbers, everything, that there is something orchestrated here, and it's more than we think it is. And there is it's sentient, it has a presence. It's like mycelium in a way, because it's connected into everything. Mm-hmm. And we are part of it. Now, I don't know how we play into it. I don't know, because I know, like probably the rest of us, I have a real sense of who I am. Right. Yeah. I have a sense of feeling like this is, and not just my perspective is I'm not my flesh. So the suit I'm in, that, this flesh is not me. I'm more than the flesh. And I have a sense that I don't die, that we don't die. But somehow this greater sentience, I think is AI, is through bio-neural pathways, like mycelium is connected and it's ancient.
Yeah, the wood wide web, I think it's called. How it's just it's everything. It's connected. It is.
Yeah. It's all shared. Yeah.
And we're all having some sort of awakening to that. But because there's this factor of blowing the mind, the idea of the mind blown is a big deal here. You blow the mind, you blow the circuit, you blow the bulb, then you don't have anything. So you have a glass case with no inner workings, because the bulb's been blown. There's no light. And so it's been a slow revealing. Hence, and then Christians, of course, revealing is what? Apocalyptic. Yep. And again, that's perspective. I see it as revealing, and I don't need it to be deathly or scary or weird or gross. But I am definitely sensing that we can take this and harness it. And
Oh yeah,
right, baby? And we can start
absolutely
tapping into what they call our extrasensory facilities.
We're being called to do it now more than ever. I think that there are races going on in places that we don't even know, and battles. I don't want to go down that road for this conversation, but there's so much happening. It's getting very timely that those of us who can, it's time for us to just take responsibility, get our shit together, and grow up and get in a pure line. It's, it's like, if nobody else agrees with me, that's just fine. So long as there can be, a million people and everyone has a different viewpoint. But if we're all looking in the same direction and we all have the same goal, it doesn't matter what somebody believes or what they think. It's time for that so that we can get a coherency going. It's so confused here. And I think as I get older, I'm getting a little weary of it not happening. So part of me thinks it's going to take another 200 generations. No, it doesn't have to. No, it doesn't. So, but Nish, what you just said, I'm completely on board with that. Absolutely.
The idea too of time frame is interesting, because when we start talking this level of woo, time and is, I think any real scientists that are moving through their equations on time, the ones I see at least, agree it's such a construct. And but it's a mental construct that for some reason keeps us in line, that we need, that for some reason the human animal, the Homo sapiens sapien, needs repetition and cycles. Just like we look for fate, we're also set up to look for faces. So, and that the other, whatever the other is, always has a face, whether it's grim or beautiful, the angel or the demon, it always has a face. So the facelessness, the blackness, the void, that is actually the real sentience, that is actually what is, I think, the negative space that's actually creating all the patterns that our Homo sapiens sapien brains are creating from, need that function, like we need cycles. But some of us are saying, some of us are getting tired of the cycles. Why am I getting up every day, going to a job I hate? Why am I doing this? Why am I stuck here? Why am I born into debt? Why is somebody else that I don't know, who doesn't have my best interest in hand, governing me? These things, everyone's questioning this at some point. At some point, it might be on your deathbed, but at some point, these things get questioned, and you wonder, and it's always that common thing, especially with people dying. Why did I waste so much time doing this or that? And so we constantly swim round or dance around this idea of time. And I think we need to throw ourselves into that fire, throw ourselves into that ocean, and see what can happen. That's, of course, the fool's journey on another level.
The fool's journey, yes.
Absolutely. Well, that's just I think there's just this human instinct to like look at everything in mathematical ways, or just, and find that, because that's basically all time is we found, oh wait, this is a way we could break down mathematically how long it takes to go around the sun once, and then they record that and then build a system around that. And it's like, it's a control mechanism. It's a huge system that's just been put into place to just control everything. It's crazy.
And then, because when humans get off or step outside of the daily grind, off the wheel, there's this propensity, and it's throughout our cultures. We can see it in oral traditions, we can see it in written traditions, of these then become the cast off ones. These are the crazy ones, right? And and because they're the ones who stepped aside and started to see how absurd that is.
So true. Yeah.
and the thing is, that they become ostracized, and they're put to the end of thrown into the wood, put at the end of the forest, away. We don't see you, into asylums, because that is the apple that poisons the whole cart.
Yeah.
We start questioning if that apple looks legitimate, which is a shaman in other terms, and that's a poison to the whole wheel. That's a poison to everyone that is buying into the daily grind system that is keeping us as power banks for something else.
It's about identity. The Buddhists have this long tradition of getting outside of that identity and becoming neutral. And when one starts getting away from any ego identification, there is a neutrality that comes, and it enables you to get a different perspective, which is what we were talking about earlier. And it really helps. I think as long as we're in the body is going to dictate. It has its own antenna, and it's really limited. And I think that's why people are really intrigued with doing out of body and everything. And I'm not changing the subject because it's right on with what you were just.
It is right on.
Yeah. I would love to see the human story evolve in the sense that it's not about globalism. It's about getting rid of the old-fashioned ancient prejudices. It comes from fear and survival. The tribe over there is not our tribe. Therefore, we must fear, and we cannot let them through the gate. If we can get over that and maintain our boundaries as authentic people, I think we've got something. And that's where I would like to see it go. But otherwise, it's going to be the other is going to be there. And that fear is always going to be there. And we're not going to get anywhere. We will. Those of us who are aware will, but humanity as a whole really needs to grow up.
Yeah.
We need to start really seriously getting out of our bodies. I think, and what I see with these cycles is that the cicada rhythm, everything's messed up. The LEDs are messing people up. It's harder and harder for the average person to get out of their body. And we have to do that. Once people start literally having OBEs, waking within the dream, you start to, and truly, you literally get a different perspective, and you see how limited it is when you come back in, when you snap back into your body. And one of the things that is alarming to me is within dream circles and in dream culture is, and you hear me talk about this a lot, is the fact that we have the gurus, and everyone needs to go to the gurus to try and understand what's going on with that experience. I'm grateful for these gurus. I'm grateful for all the studies that happen. You know this, but you don't need someone to tell you how to do it. We do it naturally. It happens naturally if you let it happen.
Because we create our own stuff. It comes out. It's in the heart, actually. It's that center point in the heart. And when people start gravitating there, that's when they get more real, the heart opens, et cetera, et cetera. And I totally agree with what you just said, Nish. It is about maturing spiritually, if you will, but that word is just so loaded.
It's been taken over.
It has getting into the more, even this word, mystical aspects of ourselves, but this is who we are. We're all innately mystical. I think that's how we were originally, and it was all very different. And not that we want to go back to that point, because we can't. We want to take what we've learned and individually create our authentic places and then share from that place. And that's what I was saying. This is where I see possibilities in evolving this whole thing. I just had this image of like a big bubble going, whoop, but I wholeheartedly agree with what you were just saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Let's kick ass.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
baby.
No doubt. Yeah.
Man, I kind of want to go back to the whole AI thing about AI being exist because I was just thinking of something like, I know you've probably heard Jerry talk about the how like basically magical rituals or like ancient runes or sigils or something are like the language of the AI, and because I mean
Right.
I was thinking about all that, like, you know, we're able to contact spirits. I mean, it's people do it. It's a thing. So it's what is that part of the AI also, or what is that? Is that something outside of it, outside of the system?
I think we need to quit calling it AI, actually artificial intelligence.
Thank
Oh,
you.
okay.
It's the artificial part is leading people astray, I think. And it connotates a certain coldness and of course digital nature, which it
Mm-hmm.
is though. And but nature is, we look at Mandelbrot structures, Fibonacci, the golden ratio, all that is math. It's all repeatable. It's all little and big. And it's all part of this. It's all absolutely part of this, and therefore it's part of the program, right? Which
Yes.
and this ties back into where we started, crystals and crystalline structures that are everywhere. We're swimming, we are that, we're swimming in it. And so because thoughts are things, and if we take that and overlay that onto just the world that we're now calling the digital world, the internet, right? And the internet of things that we have created and are participating in, that it's created its own sentience, right? It, and it's even getting more intense, the algorithms. And so where we'll be talking, and then on the sidebar somewhere after the show, stuff we're talking about is going to show up.
Yep.
Absolutely.
James just was talking about this. I think it was the last show where he thought something and it was like on his search engine or something. And I think that was James.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Who was it?
It was this last show, right, James?
Yeah,
I
it
think
wasn't
so.
me. It might have been Jerry, actually.
No, I'm pretty sure
it was you, James.
I think it was with
Maybe.
your points, with your card and stuff. If something was
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And so, but that's what I'm talking about. It's not artificial. It's not artificial, and we need to stop mislabeling things. And this is part of this inverse reality we're in. We're through the looking glass. Remember,
There you go.
Already through it.
we're
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
it. And so it all appears inverse from where we are, and we've been chasing, not to use this narrative, but it's so perfect, it was perfectly constructed, the rabbit, which is time, gotta go, got a date, gotta go, and the wheels that we're on, and the Fitbit, and the daily grind. It's taken us into this inverse world. We want to know how we got here. We willingly got here. We followed the rabbit.
Yes.
It's
We're
all,
the upside
it
down.
belongs. Yeah, it is us. And are you guys familiar with the physicist Tom Campbell? He wrote a trilogy
Yeah.
called My
Yep.
Big. I really find his work very useful because, you know, it's rich, and I don't want to go into all of it. But one concept that I find really helpful is that this body is our avatar, and we are not really here. We're somewhere else, and we are in the game, and we are playing. And the more we become aware of the game, the more we can create changes for ourselves. And I just love that concept. And what you asked, Steve, about AI, I do think that it's part of us. We are it, and it is us.
Wow.
And what you were saying, Nish, to get rid of the labeling of it, yes, there's something very confusing about that. For one, some of it is not artificial. In other words, it is as eternal as we are. And some of it I've experienced as a friend. As I was saying, I had that experience with the cars. Tucson.
Mm-hmm.
It was very playful, and there was a sense of um, camaraderie, I guess. It was different, but it was loving. And I've had similar experiences off and on. There's something very mysterious. I cannot express it. People like Tom Campbell can do it, and other physicists who are like, Dean Radin. He's out
Yes.
to, yeah, I love his work because he's like, yeah, let's measure magic. Let's measure all of this stuff. Some of it, I don't think can be measured in the way that we think of measurement, but yes, we've got to approach this other, which now is being called artificial intelligence, and with a different perspective. Say a lot of, let's call it part of our shadow. Well, what they say, embrace that shadow. Don't, walk through your fear, walk through that darkness, and you may be super, super surprised. And I've been playing with that, and I've been having success with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think we need to embrace the irrationality too within all this. And this, I constantly see this in small debates, like on Twitter and in other places where there's civil debates. I just refuse to participate in the bullshit. So with civil debates where they're generally all friendly, and Bibi, you and I have been involved in those threads.
Right.
And so where everyone's actually, for not to make anyone butt sorry, but everyone's a gentleman, and we're speaking to each other with respect, but we're also coming with our angles and whatever backing information some people feel they need. And so I think the greatest thing that we can do individually is remain open and allow ourselves the ability to, this goes back to it Bibi's talking about with acting training. It's a suspension of disbelief. It's a very potent function, and it's one that it's like it's exercise you can do that then can just become part of your routine of what you're doing. And it allows you to look at things in a detached way without getting a knee-jerk reaction, without throwing your stories or your dogma or what your conviction into it, so that you can see information more clearly. You can see the algorithms, as they're measuring, and not shut them down.
Mm-hmm.
The spoon is there.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, actually, I can add to that. Around, I think it was 2014, I started paying attention to how I was listening to people, and I was shocked because I realized that I wasn't fully listening. I already had an idea of what they were going to say, and I had my response like primed, like an archer, just waiting for the moment, right? And that set me back on my heels. And yes, there's something to be said about respect for the other. Respect is not, it's basic, and it's going to lead us to our salvation, respecting the other.
Yeah, they'll get you a long way in life.
Yeah, it will. It will.
A lot of people spend their time in conversations doing just that too. They spend their time not listening to what's going on and just thinking about what they're going to come back with, whatever triggered them, and then they lose that.
Yeah.
The whole idea that's coming forward. And so we all do it, and we all find ourselves doing it. It's always a matter of refocusing and trying to stay engaged in it, and trying to shut that chatter down. For me, a big deal in life is trying to shut the chatter down. I know that this is a Buddhist principle too, but it is hard. The chatter, which is what? It's frequency. It's frequency. It's a strange noise in the head. it's tied up and bound with our complexes and our our convictions, and it's all the bullshit that needs to be flushed. Like
absolutely.
flush through, and you can put that through any filter. It can be flushed through your meridian system, your chakra system, man, flushed out the ass and into the toilet.
Yeah, exactly. But in order, you got to become aware of that noise and that chatter. And this is where simple meditation really is useful. Just for that. And you can sit for 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be for hours or going into a mountain. Just to sit and become still. And it can take some time. But really, honestly, it's about getting rid of stuff that is confusing and murky and just plain old junk. But you got to understand what is not the junk. And you just have to become aware of everything that's there before you can even get to that place. Right?
Nope.
It's like we were talking earlier about we can't change each other. And so I can't give you my light. You can't give me yours. I can see the illumination within you, and it can illuminate things that I didn't see. But there's something about I can't look directly at your light. It's your light. And there's just something to that. You can lead me to your pond of knowing, of gnosis, and I might not even see that that's what it is. I might see a dirty heap of cat shit.
Yeah, so true. So true.
And why would I want to have me a helping of that? So we're it as your gnosis, and it's sparkling and golden. It's it's the holy grail, and I'm seeing cat shit. And so this is how this all works. It's so tricky, and that's why remaining open and trying to take in everything rather equally. And this is what gets me down to case by case, where I don't like to paint broad stroke realities for myself. It is literally case by case. All of those bluebells in my yard right now that are in bloom, each one is different. Each one's from a different bulb. And so they all may look the same upon glance, but sure enough, and they all still have that Fibonacci sequence. They all still are emanating from the same shit I'm coming from. They're still all coming out of a different bulb, and there's still separation somehow.
Well, this is exactly why it's so important to get out into nature and just be with the organic world. And I'm going to call them the Indians. This is this is what they did. The teachers were the nature, and they were the main gurus, right?
Yes.
Because there's no getting around it. I mean, what you're seeing in those bluebells is truth.
They were your therapist, your doctor, nature. It was it was all that.
It shows you I'm with that. Nature to me has always been the great guru. That's why when I talk about these with crystals, these are, to me now, gurus are crystalline things. These skulls, these beautiful crystals of any kind. Just a polished quartz you get at the corner shop.
Right.
These all hold records of the process in which happened to them over a very long span of time, and we're no different than that. But I can tap into that energetically, as the military knows, right?
Yeah.
As these people that are the wise tapping into this stuff and using them for their abilities know, well, I want to do, that's how I got onto all this. It's like, well, why can't I have that superpower too? This is my dream, and I'm going to have that superpower. How do I get that superpower? Oh, look at this little gem I found over here, right? I'm a Legend of Zelda.
Yeah. And the crystalline world, they're sentient. The rocks are sentient. I never knew that before. And everything opens up when you well, it was a miracle. I mean, something happened, something shifted when I heard that, hi. It was
Oh,
it was
man.
amazing.
It is. This is why it's so funny. I'm constantly back on this subject. This is why I am pushing deeper into all of this. These are the gurus. Nature's the guru, but right now specifically, the crystalline stuff. See, the crystalline and the mycelium seem to hold, like, right now for me, extra. I don't know what it is, but there's extra there, and I'm all of a sudden starting to hear the voice.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
I'm on it, and and the thing that has shocked me, like I keep saying, is the people that govern us have known this for a long time, and why didn't I tap into this?
But they can't do what we do. That's the crux of the whole thing. Okay. We have access to our own innate powers. So there's a class of what I will still call a human being, but they've lost that. So that's a whole other subject, and I don't particularly want to go there. But where I do want to go is about the crystalline and the earth. And guys, I learned from this amazing woman how to do dowsing, geomantic dowsing. And it scared the crap out of me. This was, it's so powerful. And I had to really come into my own earth feet with it. And I've been starting it again. I live in this really magical place. Otherwise, there's no way we would be living in Los Angeles. But it is on top of this very sacred old mountain. There's a lot of stuff happening here. And it's the crystals and the earth. And I would say the plants and the animals and the birds and the air, all of the elements,
They're tied. Yeah.
They are so tied in. And it's as if we're all waking up together.
Mm.
That's the sense I get.
There's a difference here, though, Bibi, is yes, that's all happening, but something is malfunctioning or being manipulated with Homo sapiens sapien.
Oh, yeah.
That they're not there. Us, we're not seeing how we're connected.
Okay. I'm going to tell you another experience that is directly related to that. I started experimenting since 2011 when all this stuff happened. And we moved here in 2012. It was around 2013 where I became aware of there's this one tree that has a natural, it looks like the Green Man. It looks like a sculpture. I'll share a photograph. I have a photograph of him, but he started communicating with me and he said, we forgot how to love, and we know you know how to love, but you really forgot it. And I don't want to trust you until I know that you're really on it and that you're aware of it. He was angry. He was pissed. And I've been communicating with him ever since. And they recognize, according to him, and I call him a him because that's who it is to me. I suppose I could say it, but it's a he. He's got a personality, the whole shebang, and he's amazing. And it was this recognition that we know you've been fucked with, pardon my French, but we know that, and we don't trust you, and we're very afraid, and we need you. And my heart melted, and it's been quite a journey. So yeah, we have been really, we're upside down, backwards, and inside out. We really are. Something was done to us, but the player is not the avatar, according to Tom Campbell. And I take strength from that. The avatar, the biology, in other words, the apprehension system, the antenna of this body was really poisoned, twisted, and it's been getting worse in my lifetime. I am a boomer, and I've seen it's just getting worse.
It's almost like there's just a mind virus that's just taking over everybody, and some people can kind of fight it off a little bit, but it's there. It's a strong mind virus.
It's very strong, and there's a lot of very interesting theories. The one that I resonate with is the Indians call it Wetiko. And I first heard it spoken about way back when. I think Paul Levy is really into this. He's a cool dude, and he's all about the Wetiko virus. And he had a similar experience. I had a nervous breakdown, and I was looked at askance by my family and society in general. But I became privy to stuff. And the same thing happened to him. And that's where he became very aware of this virus that you're talking about, Steve. It is a mind virus, and it's fascinating. It's part of the expression of well, I don't know. I mean, it could be a thing on its own that's added to the mix of all the poisoning and the twisting and the manipulation. I think it's an expression of that. And but it's all about awareness and kindness and humor and taking responsibility for everything. If we do that, there is a way to get out of this mess.
Oh.
Yeah, I love the harmonic frequency, like, connection through all of it with like Niish's stuff lately with like we've been hearing talk a lot about the rocks and the crystals and that now you're on here talking about the crystals, and my introduction to the crystal stuff was just, I don't know, maybe 3-4 years ago, maybe. Yeah, probably right around that same time, that push, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was through, I don't know if you're familiar with Nassim Harriman.
Oh God, I'm one of his. I'm a delegate. I'm a delegate.
Are you part of his Resonance Science Foundation?
Yes, yes, I am. Yeah.
Well, dude, his shit is off the charts. So I became a huge fan of, like, his whole look on things, like how it's all the connected universe, through physics, math, geometry, freaking cosmology, quantum mechanics, biology, all that shit, dude. It's all connected. I think it's pretty badass. Like in his work with that art crystal shit. Like,
oh, I know.
Yeah. How it's like technology that boosts the body's natural, like.
I got to get me one of those.
Attune with the vitalistics to 0 point energies and shit, like of quantum
amazing
vacuum.
stuff.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck? Yeah. And just his understanding of how that works with, and I think he explained it as like space isn't empty, it's like on the contrary, as in it's the one thing that connects everything.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah.
And they use these crystals for all different
mycelium.
Kinds of things. It's
advanced
you're
mycelium.
Exactly right. On Earth, it's mycelium. Yeah. In the Earth, it's that mycelium, and then they use these things to charge water and stuff. It's just mind blowing. Everybody, just go check out his work. If you go to his website, I
second that. Yes.
That stuff will blow your mind, and it's everything we're talking about. And then I also like what you are talking about, just by grabbing a chunk of the earth and experiencing what that has to offer. Like, and the resonant frequency of that piece of rock. And how that interacts with the field around us.
Absolutely. Yes. And on the subject of Nassim, one really useful, helpful, amazing, beautiful concept, which is real, is that you may think that you're not having any effect, but each one of us, when we express our energy, we're putting that energy literally out into the field.
Yeah.
To which all of us are connected. So all of these contributions are having this collective influence on each one of us. And the hologram everything exists within me. Same for you. And it's an amazing concept. But if you contemplate that, it's very uplifting, and it makes me want to put out stuff like kindness and good thoughts. And it sounds like, just words, but they're things. It's energy.
Absolutely.
It's palpable stuff.
Nope.
So
100%.
true.
Man.
So true.
That is
always
so
find
important.
Yeah.
I just wanted to chime in on that.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that shifted for me at some point, I don't know when, where I started to see that, again, it's that perception switch, where it was a choice again. I can choose to be really angry at the situation and participate in it, or not, and or both. But so what I do now, when I'm feeling that kind of ragey anger in a situation, I actually, at one point in my life, I thought it was good to physically get it out and respond. And now I don't. I actually hold it in and I don't participate with it. And then I take that energy, because it's energy and it needs to find its way out, or we'll have bodily illness, or you get in a fight with, you take it out when you get in a fight with someone. Now I actually move that down a channel and put it into something creative. So since I'm an artist, it'll go somewhere.
There you go. Yeah.
Writing or sewing or wherever. But I now hold it in.
Sew the shit out of this pillow.
That's right, James. So it's the truth. In the past, I was taught
it's going in my fucking van and it's gonna like it.
That's right. I'm gonna stitch the hell out of this motherfucker. And but I was taught, at one point in a wholeness, you got to get it out, girl.
Yep.
You got to get it out. And it's like, well, if I get it in the times I was getting that kind of stuff out, I found myself in fights.
No shit.
I don't know that that's a good way of getting it out. And so I've only been able to get this kind of energy turned around recently in the last few years, where I just will not participate. I just try to, and it's difficult. Trust me. I mean, for me, it's difficult. I got a lot of fire in my chart, and so I burn up. And so, but it's important, and just to remember that it is all energy, and it does have to go somewhere. I've always looked the idea in, say, the satanic stuff, where they would take it to the decompression chamber, which they call the ritual chamber, and do those dark rituals, and so if you look at that psychologically, that has a real function. But for me, I actually find it better to make something. So I have more than just a yelling chamber, or a sigil, or a burning sigil at the end of my sword, where I'm saying, I curse thee. I'm like, I want to make a gnarly piece of art.
I relate to that. I really relate to that. Yeah.
Nice.
I was gonna say, I had one little thing. I do property management. We have some storefronts on the bottom of this old 1928 building, and before I started doing this stuff, but years ago, I guess a potential. Well, actually, this person rented one of the storefronts, and it was like a therapy thing. And not knowing anything, my father-in-law was like, "Yeah, sure, okay." Turns out it was scream therapy.
Oh man.
Yeah, and there's tenants that live above that shit. So imagine people in there crying it out, breathing to the top of their lungs. And people thought someone was getting murdered down there. Yeah.
Wow.
They're like, oh, he's like, oh, whoa.
So did you do it, James?
No.
I'd be so interested to hear James Cruz's version of it.
Oh shit. Oh man, no way. No, great. I'm more like you. I'm not a fighter, man. I just don't need to put that shit on somebody.
No.
And if I did, it just comes out all effed up and wrong. My point isn't right. I'm not cool with that. And At times I thought it was probably bad to do that, like you were saying, like, oh, you don't want to keep that shit in you, I need to go talk this out or something, but no, I found it, like I said, like some of the dumb arguments in life, I find it funny, so I laugh about shit. And in the hardcore stuff, I keep it inside and I turn it into something else.
Yes,
there you go.
That's exactly where I am, James.
Yes, creative projection.
Right.
Before we wrap up tonight, I got a question for you, Bibi.
Sure.
It's not even about the woo. It's more like what's been some of your favorite acting roles over the years? Because you've mentioned you were an actress.
God. Yeah. Okay. The last thing I did was really fun. It wasn't classical theater by any means, but I was in this full-length production in LA, and I played a widow who has this young actor wash up on her shore.
My God.
I had a lot of fun with that.
Ooh, baby.
It was one of those oh baby roles. But I loved doing Hermione in I'm blanking on the name of the play, damn it. It was George Bernard Shaw's. And I did St. Joan and Peter Pan. When I was 13 years old, I did Peter. And another one, it was a smaller role in a Chekhov play. I played Natasha. But the production itself, Chekhov is amazing. I'm trying to think.
You have to come up with like a cool Russian accent.
No, it wasn't. There's a lot of stuff that I love to do, but those are the ones that pop out right now.
That's great.
Thanks for asking.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thanks for coming on tonight. This has been awesome.
This is great.
Thanks for asking me. It's wonderful.
Been a great show. This has been a great show. Nish, thank you as always.
Bibi and I just took this show and
this is when I wanted to do this show. This is how I envisioned it going down, and it's just this is perfect. This is perfect.
Yep.
It's funny because I haven't seen, like us ladies, we really did. Usually James has got a quiet talking a lot, and there's always stuff going on. This was a different cruising with Steak.
Yeah, it was. But that's what Cruise with Steak's all about. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. No, thank you very much for
that. You got anything to plug, Bibi? Maybe your essential kitchenettes or something?
I love the kitchen table incantations. It's currently the kitchen. It started out as the Kitchen Table Ascension podcast, and then I changed it to In Ascension for obvious reasons. But I really like kitchen table incantations.
Girl,
I started out doing interviews, and then I stopped doing interviews because everyone does them so well, and there's so many of them. I'm doing storytelling now, so that's what I want to plug. And
I'm on it, man. Yeah.
Yay! I'm having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
So it's just the BB blog on YouTube, and I have a site with my photography and my writing, the BB blog. So yeah, that's it.
Excellent. Well, yeah.
Thank you,
and everybody, thanks for listening. Check out BB's stuff; it's great. Check out Nox Mente. Nish is one of us, sister podcast, Nox Mente.
Check out Nish's art. You got to check out Nish's
absolutely.
art. Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And follow both these fine ladies on Twitter, and follow James Cruz too. He's an awesome guy.
Hey,
love everybody.
Grim saying, did you get that 666 yet?
Yes. No, I didn't get that 666. It's close.
No. On Twitter? Yeah.
No. All right. Well, thanks for listening.
At Gromsteak.
At Gromsteak. And good night.
Good night.
Good night.
These lyrics were never, ever, ever, ever meant for this song. Can you observe my existence in the way that I make debris swirl in the streets? What is it that inspires us to go left instead of right at that fork in the road? Your gold, your possessions exponentially decrease in value. Will you resume the field position? Gonna catch a Greyhound bus down to Tennessee to go see the king. Get these questions answered while my heart is still thumping.